Thank you for joining us. I'm Paul Wilson.
And I'm Chris Emke.
And this is Diesel Performance Podcast. Guys, we got a great episode set up for you today. We're going to be talking to the one of our favorite returning guests, Tony and Tyler Burkhard from DHD, winners of Ultimate Callout Challenge 2023.
The Hookers.
But before we get to that, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Calibrated Power, home of DuramaxTuner.com. Hey, they keep Chris and I employed, so they can't be all bad. They also have some of the best all-time ever diesel performance product upgrades available, such as 50-state legal custom tuning, drop-in turbochargers, built transmissions, 6-speed upgrades for LB7s and LLYs, and all sorts of other goodies that you guys should take advantage of. Check out DuramaxTuner.com today to get your truck right.
Extra G Performance, your one-stop shop for anything diesel, whether it's mild in stock or it's of the highest caliber, ODSS, UCC competing trucks. Extra G Performance can get your fueling needs taken care of.
Last but not least, we want to give a shout out to WC Fab. Hey, we love the Worley brothers and all the crew over there. We spend a lot of time with those guys, not only as their shop 45 minutes away from us, and we're all friends. We like doing business with them. But you can rely that you're going to get the absolute top quality, perfect fit, just the best of the best. And that's why we love working with Worley. If you haven't checked out their workbenches, you're crazy. Go look at them. Yes, they're an investment, but if you saw them at UCC, you know they're definitely worth it.
Yeah, if you work, it's going to be beneficial.
That's it. That's it. Don't use them for storage. That would just make me cry. Chris, for today, we've got to give a shout out to the Burkhards, Tony and Tyler. How the hell are you?
Awesome. Chicken screaming. Wait, he just stole my line.
Like father, like son.
Tyler, you pilot the truck. Tony, I tell everybody you build the truck. How accurate is that?
Depends what we're doing. Racing, I'm in it. Pulling, Tony's in it, because pulling sucks.
Tony, does that break your heart a little bit to hear your son
just talk shit?
Just talk shit about the family business of sled pulling?
Well, he has to take a little bit of faith in me because I do buckle his harness when he's in there. So,
I mean, we're going to go through the different events, but I mean, Tony, if it wasn't for you, piloting it in the dirt, that was the points needed to take first place, right? So, you got to remind him that you're always number one.
Right. You're not finishing if you don't finish strong, right?
Absolutely.
That's it. All right. Well, Tyler, walk us through Friday. You raced for ODSS and run for UCC on Fridays. That was what you did last year. That's what you did this year as well. What was your Friday like at UCC this year?
No, well, I mean, the competition was great, but I felt terrible. I was sick. Felt like a pig in a blanket the entire time, so it wasn't great, and the truck didn't want to hook up, so it was a big struggle bus that day.
I saw you in the morning or morning-esque. I think you had just made a run, weren't super happy with your time. Hey, man, racing with the hangovers definitely makes it harder, so walk me through what that first pass felt like on Friday, because I think you got out there pretty early in the morning, right?
Yeah, can't remember what time we started, like 10:30, around there, maybe 11. It felt slow, felt really slow, and that was probably the only decent pass we made, and I made an error at the end of the track. Didn't think the truck shifted, slapped the shifter twice, and on the second time, I hit it too hard and didn't think about my left hand and jerked it and kind of caused it to get a little wild at the big end.
Yeah, the announcers definitely made a scene over that. The truck didn't look like it was on a rail line, right? So it definitely had some movement down there at the end of the track. Did that wake you up a little bit? Does that shake the nerves when you're at the end of the track? How fast are you going down there through the traps?
Well, I think at that time we were only going 130, since we're trying to get the truck figured out to go faster, since we're having hard times hooking up. It woke me up a little bit, but it wasn't too bad.
130 miles an hour. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
For 2 days there. Yeah, he was sick for 2 days, so that didn't help at all, right? He just didn't have a clear mind, and he felt horrible and looked horrible.
You're not lying. We saw Tyler cruising through the show. I think going to get a trans blanket, if I remember correctly, or something of that nature. But it's definitely one of those. Your truck doesn't care if you're sick, right? Like your truck is performing at 2,600 horsepower, whatever the ridiculous number is. Like your truck's going to run 130 miles an hour through the traps. Like. You have to make yourself be on the A game. What is that like? What is that like after you have to go out and do a second pass? Are you more aware? Are you kind of going through a checklist? Like, how do you come back after that first pass and having that kind of that shock at the end of the track?
Well, don't slap the shifter. Just let the truck do its thing. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm just going to both hands on the steering wheel this time and keep her straight.
So
don't worry if the truck screws up.
Now, when later in the evening, right, you guys made some passes. I saw some videos, the truck breaking the tires loose, things like that. What happened later in the evening when we had that little incident where the truck went into the wall?
So I had a lot of pressure on me. The guys, everyone wanted a good pass at least to get past Hunter Coffee or a lot closer to him. And the truck just didn't want to get there. So around, I want to say the 100-foot mark, I hit some tire shake, and it felt like normal tire shake that I'm able to drive through. I drove through tire shake a few times. It didn't feel that bad. And it was still hooking and booking. So I thought it was still hooked to the track. Well, as soon as the tire shake cleared up, I was going sideways.
Gotcha.
And yeah, should have lifted, but I'm a little cocky driver, and I'll get served a humble pie here or there.
How did you feel? Like, walk the listeners through, right? Like, you launch the truck at the staging light, you're going down, tire shake, truck sideways, aiming towards the wall. What's going through your head? What are you thinking?
First thought to my head is, the old man's going to be pissed about this one.
Okay.
This isn't the first time you guys have made contact with the wall, though. Tony, was it you last year who was piloting at Rudy's? Do I seem to remember an incident there?
No, it was a week before UCC 2 years ago.
That's what it was.
Local here, local track. And that's one of Tyler's first comments is that would you say something about that? That I had already wrecked the truck, right? And the funny thing is that kind of looked almost like the same thing going down the track sideways. It was the same direction and almost the same place in the track. Just mine was a little more forgiving. It was a guardrail, and I knocked the guardrail out 2-3 foot and sheared off all the posts, but I had something to absorb some energy.
Right.
And he just, his was just cement. There's nothing. So it took a lot harder hit on the truck.
Yeah. So okay. Tyler pulled a Tony. What kind of damages? Yeah. What kind of damages occurred? Friday night, you get the truck back in the pits. What were you guys up against?
The videos of this resurrection, just real quick before you guys answer. If you haven't seen the videos of them, and I do call this a resurrection of the truck because you'll hear, but the videos are so worth jumping online to go look at. If you're listening right now, go ahead, pause the episode. You can get back to us. Go watch the videos of what these guys are talking about. Go ahead. Tony, Tyler, who wants to handle this one? Who wants to tell us about, like, the truck getting it off the track and getting it back to race ready?
Yeah, I mean, I was to the truck about the time that they were walking Tyler to the ambulance. And so I kind of did a quick look over of the truck, and there's no direct impact to the motor, to the oiling system or anything. The frame rail is straight into the frame rail, and that poor front end of that truck, like the fenders and hood and grill. Them things have been through World War III, right? they've had a tough life. So it's a matter of getting it back, and looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, we're probably done, but maybe we can throw the turbos on it and dyno it, hoping the tranny wasn't busted or things like that, right? So, we checked everything over and needed that frame rail moved. The passenger side frame rail had to go down and over, and so we loaded up on Humpy's gooseneck trailer and used that as a frame rack and pulled on the frame. Got the frame in pretty good shape and mounted up the chargers, and we had a couple things that had happened. When Tyler hit the wall, the truck had stalled, but he hadn't shut it off, and we didn't really think much of it. When we were straightening the frame, I'd fire up the truck and drive it, and I noticed a little more vibration in the truck, but as two metals rubbing together someplace, something, not quite right. Why, it's vibrating a little more than normal. But I just left it as, something isn't quite jiving, but keep going. So, we got a jockeyed around, we're borrowing Coffey's tires. So we had to, jockey where we were going to run on the dyno, and wanted a little bit of a earlier hook because I knew that our time to set up for truck pulling was going to take a lot longer with the messed up truck. So I was able to get a little earlier dyno, and we needed every minute of that. So, but that was kind of the recap of the drag racing. But it was very unfortunate that there were so many oil downs on Friday because that limited our ability to go out and make some passes. It was very, very frustrating. We have a professional organizations, two of them, and we're trying to compete. And unfortunately, and I know it takes we need all the young guys to join into this sport, and need to get them going down the track and get them hooked, but they need to do it on a different day. It's very, very, very frustrating.
Was it all ODSS guys who were oiling down the track? Is that like none of the UCC guys were the ones to come apart this year?
Right. It wasn't the pro guys, wasn't the pro ODSS, and it wasn't UCC. It was all the guys that wanted to run index, and their grudge matches, and they're running. I understand UCC wanted to keep the stands full and keep the track busy and hot, but we lost. Unfortunately, we were only able to make one good pass, right? So, and if we weren't under so much pressure, we wouldn't. I don't feel we would have wrecked because we would have had more time to work our bugs out. We changed so many things on the truck this year that we're still trying to iron it out, right?
I think there's definitely a legitimate argument to be made there. I think Friday, I know the stands, like I'll say from working at the expo, from having a booth at the expo and being out there, we had more foot traffic on Friday than we've ever had before. And it makes sense because there wasn't a ton of racing going on. Unfortunately, I know UCC, best of intentions, right? Wanted to bring people out, wanted to give them a show, wanted to give them a reason to be there on Friday, get these guys out there, get these guys racing. That's what it's all about. I get it. But I think you might have drilled in on a detail here that's not to be overlooked, and that's who's going to be out on the track. How do we make sure that we have the UCC comes first? Like, even ODSS, in my opinion, on Friday, should have second priority on the track. Like we're there. We paid for passes. People are driving across the country. Guys are coming down from Nova Scotia, Canada.
Right.
To see Ultimate Callout Challenge. Everything else is bells and whistles. And I don't mean to downplay ODSS. ODSS is a huge part of our industry. We have nothing but respect for ODSS. But in general, we go to the UCC event for the UCC event, right? So I
Right.
know that that's challenging. I do always love. I don't think you guys have been there a single year where there's not some dramatic comeback story like smack the wall, throw your truck on a gooseneck,
I'm just
and
thinking
then
viral
ratchet
videos.
strap it back to straight frame rails. Like essentially, I think that's probably an oversimplification, but it's accurate.
I mean, I think the Burkhards need to bill UCC for all the viral videos year over year. You know, the truck catching on fire, the wall. Like, you know, you are UCC, Tony.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was a big thing. You know, we're there for this, and then we're having to sit in staging lanes for a couple hours because there's oil downs, right? And that was
Because some rookie doesn't know what he's doing with his goddamn truck.
Wow.
well, and I don't want to discount them guys, right? We need them growing into this industry, but this isn't the time and place. Friday when we're supposed to be making our runs, right?
Yeah.
Can we move it to Thursday, or can we? You know, I thought it worked pretty good running them down the track while we were dynoing. That kept the.
I was just going to
that
say.
kept the crowd. The crowd was busy on Saturday with all them guys running the track and then seeing the dyno. So
Yeah.
I think it's just some adjustments. We need to do some adjustments, but
I like it. That was a very professional way to handle that.
I think the spectators were up, and I think the ODSS participants were up. I know the UCC participants are down some. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of money to come there and not sleep. You know, that's so. You know, it's a tough gig. It's not easy to stay running all weekend and be competitive.
Well, speaking of hard work, you know, dyno, you said you got an early slot on the dyno on Saturday. What goes into the preparation from dyno on Saturday after having to go through the truck after hitting the wall Friday, then Saturday dyno to then, you know, Sunday, you know, being able to have the truck prepared to hook up to a sled?
Yeah, there's a lot of checks and balance. So once we hit the wall Friday, so I assessed the situation, and yes, I feel the trucks, we can run that on the dyno, and it's going to be safe enough to run truck pull, but normally we always run the ODSS with the UCC, but I didn't feel safe enough with it to run the rest of the ODSS drag races after we dynoed it. So there's making a lot of adjustments in our plan of attack, right? So when we went up to the dyno, everything seemed to be okay, felt good, and we got it up there, and Tyler makes the first pass, and it was breaking up. It's never broke up like that before. I immediately check, you know, Chad's checking the log file, and I'm checking every single connection, ground, battery, plug, sensor, whatever. We're working on pulling the crank sensor out, trying to make sure, you know, crank sensor wasn't hit. Trying to file the crank sensor out, so it went in a little further. There was like 40 seconds left on the clock after I cranked up the nitrous bottles, and Tyler, I don't know, was it 30-some seconds, ripped off a full dyno run. Well, it really wasn't even a full dyno run because the truck actually shut off halfway through the dyno run. We had only a 1,200 RPM increase from when the dyno started to the time that the truck died. And we never even hit full nitrous. Not all the nitrous valves even opened yet. And the truck just shut right off. And you know, I heard how poor the truck run, and I was really kind of saddened walking up to the truck. And then as I'm walking there, they say it's 2,300 and some horsepower. I'm like, holy shit. That wasn't even half a run. wasn't even half a run, and we had 2,400 horse. And Tyler did the start to finish in 30-some seconds. And I'm like, that's how you dyno a truck. You don't sit there for 5 minutes loading the thing and building so much heat in the damn truck, right? He just he whipped it up and knocked her out and did an awesome job. Unfortunately, the valve train collided, and there's just a lot of things happening with the motor.
Oh, no.
So the motor had no compression, and we weren't quite sure, but we knew that it was nothing we could fix in 5 minutes. And so for a second time over the weekend, I thought we were going home early, but the Humpies, I don't know how well you guys know the Humpies, John and John Jr.
I don't know them personally. I don't know if we've had them on the show before. No. I guess I'd have to go back and look.
They are so sincere. You know, I take him as my brother, right? And they're like, well, even Seth, my youngest son, had his pickup there at LBC. He's like, Dad, you could just take my motor and truck pull it. I'm like, not going to pull your motor out and then puke it halfway down the track, right? I mean, thank you. I love you. I appreciate the offer. I just don't know if I really want to do that, right? And Humpy's like, take our motor. Once we're done pulling, we'll pull the motor out and stick it in your truck. I'm like, come on.
Just pull the motor and stick it in your truck.
No, really. Serious. Well, let's get her going. So it was nonstop from whenever we did that dyno run, finished up and back at the tent, I don't know, 1:30, 2 o'clock, something like that. We were 100% nonstop for 23 hours till we got, for the truck pull. We had trying to get it into pulling trim and getting the motor out, getting the motor stripped down, waited for Humpy to pull. That was 9 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night.
It was supposed to be. Then I think he pulled into the tent around 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Jeez.
So 10:30, 11 o'clock, he pulls up with a steaming hot motor, right? So, I mean, we had all kinds of guys jumping in and helping pull the motor out and strip his motor down, some stuff, and put ours on it. Dry thumper, engine cover, injectors, intake, pumps, lines, hoses, harnesses, and get it all in the truck. And we ran into a little electrical issue. And we love all the guys that helped. It was awesome, right? They were pitching in, guys I've never talked to in my life and whatever. And one of those guys, really good mechanic, he went underneath, he plugged in all the plugs underneath the truck. And when we went to start it, we had problems. None of our sensors were working. We wasted about 45 minutes trying to figure it out, and he figured it out. He had a wheel speed sensor plugged into the two-stage converter lockup solenoid, and it was just shortening it out, right? And he didn't know. He's never worked on the truck before, and so that was an easy fix. Just it was 45 minutes of sweating, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to validate that all the CP3 pumps were working, and the first one I unplugged. So this is 12 o'clock. This is when the poll's supposed to be starting, right?
You've also been up for, I'd imagine, for like 72 hours at this point. Like, you've been through a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of adrenaline pumping. And then, walk us up. So now the poll's supposed to start at noon on Sunday.
Right. And I like being early, making sure we're weighted up, everything's good. Well, at 12 o'clock, I pull the wire off the regulator and the truck dies. And I'm like, that's not supposed to happen.
No.
So it was pulling the whole front of the motor back off. The CP3 gear was busted, and so we had to pull the front of the motor off, change the gear, get it all back together. Normally, 4 guys doing this is about a 2.5 hour job. We got it done in an hour.
Oh wow!
So we were back up. We did get up to the line at 1 o'clock. Everyone's stressed to the max and nervous and tired. Hoping everything's right. We got someone else's motor in and just throwing this thing together and get on the track. And we had a little programming issue that we overlooked. And when I locked the torque converter, it limited it to 3,800 RPMs and 80% horsepower.
Oh.
And so it come out ripping. I locked the converter, and it was not sounding right. And when I unlocked the converter, it actually, anyone that's done truck pulling knows that there's never going to be a time at 200 foot that unlocking the torque converter will set you back in the seat. It was like, I actually want to look at the G meter because it went up when I unlocked the converter. That I would have, and everyone has their issues, right? Everyone has mistakes, right? So I know, Coffee had a problem with the right gear, the shifter, or something with his truck. He would have had a way better run. There's quite a few guys that would have had better runs, but I know that it would have been probably 40 foot further down the track hadn't we had that little hiccup, But we still. So I tell everyone we sucked all weekend, but the thing is we were consistent, and that's what won us. Right? We consistently sucked all weekend.
So did you guys get first place in all 3 categories? Did you guys? I haven't looked at the stats yet here this morning. So where did you guys rank on like a per event basis?
So we ranked second in the drag racing, third on the dyno, and third truck pulling.
But because you racked up enough points and you were consistently in the top 3 across all 3 events, that's how you end up in first at UCC. It's funny. This is the plan everybody has told us about, Chris. Every interview we've ever done before UCC, this is what everybody says is like, I don't have to be first in all 3 events. Right. I just have to be in the top 3 of all 3 events. And then obviously at the end of each year, after the show, very few people are able to keep that consistency up.
Well, when you look at the second place guy, Josh McCormick, right? Like he wasn't the fastest truck right, at the drag strip, but he was the highest horsepower. And I want to say he placed fairly well in the sled pulls, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, he placed like 4th or something like that.
4th, yeah.
He was like right behind us by a foot or 2.
Clearly, you guys won. I'm just kidding.
Right. Yeah, and if you can just sit back and you can picture that, right? Guy can come out. We won the truck pull and the drag racing one year, and still ended up 3rd place. I think we finished 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Because we sucked at the dyno compared to the other guys, and
I think that was when Ziegler broke 3,000. So it was a moonshot that nobody saw coming.
Was that last year?
And
that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago.
2 years
that we
ago.
took.
My bad.
It's okay.
So that wasn't Ziegler. That was someone else. But we finished, I don't know, 8th or 10th in the dyno, right? So the dyno scoring this year, not having the torque number in there, really, I would say, made quite a difference. Or in my mind, it made a lot of difference, right? I'm happier with shortening up the point spread with the dyno, and then having a little longer track, sled pulling, a 320, 350 track helps with the spread a little bit on truck pulling. So overall, the scoring is better than what it was in years past. But yeah, you can think about that, how someone, and that's what it is. This challenge is that your truck can do good in everything, and if you are super good in one thing and totally suck in other things, you're not going to win the event. So, it's a good reflection of how the points work, right?
Yeah.
Now, you guys were second last year or third last year?
Second.
Second.
Were we second?
So
Pretty sure.
you guys took first this year. From what my memory serves, you're the first Duramax to win the event. Am I correct with that statement?
Yes, first Duramax, and actually this year was the only Duramax in the competition.
So
Jeez.
how does that? I mean, you guys won. I don't want to take that away from you, but being Dirty Hooker Diesel is very Duramax oriented. How do you guys feel knowing that you've been able to take that platform to one of the highest caliber of competition and be able to win?
So, we're always looking to do better, right? And so I'm trying to find the guy that wrote the book on Duramax, 4-wheel drive, drag racing, Pro Street, right? Well, there's no book on that, right?
Right.
If you want to find the book on the Cummins Pro Street 4-wheel drive drag racing, well, there's a few of them out there, right?
Yeah.
You can call Fire Punk, you can call Derek up. Those guys know how to build a Cummins to go fast, and they do an awesome job at it. And they have nice trucks, and unfortunately, we're the ones writing the book, and it's a lot of hard knocks for us to get there. So us being able to, we give a lot of Duramax guys hope, the fact that we actually won the UCC with the Duramax. It's just, there's guys out there say, Duramax will never win it. Well,
There's also a lot of guys, in the sled pull world, right, where they compete with Duramaxes and they feel like there's no hope because they compete against a bunch of Cummins. So now they put Cummins into the chassis and things like that. So, I think it is an eye-opener, to take the Duramax platform that I would say is second favorite, right? I think in competition, Cummins is kind of always that go-to platform. But I think it gives the Duramax guys some hope. And then, for you guys pioneering it in a sense, right? Like you guys are trying to write the book of how to, and this is the blueprint in order to do so. Hats off to you guys. I wouldn't want to do that. So It's cool to see you guys do that. But for me, it was, congrats on the win. But I think more importantly, it's congrats to have the Duramax win and that platform be, at the top of its, at the top of its caliber. So
Absolutely. Well said.
and it takes dedication, right? I mean, I wanted to quit twice, but my team wouldn't let me, right? They just, I'm like, I get to relax.
Just playing.
No relaxing. And we really have a couple of Ford guys that are hammering hard, and they're, so I say the Cummins guys are 20 years ahead of us, right? They were making, a big power with Cummins before Duramax even come around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're 20 years behind Cummins, and then the Fords, I want to say, are probably a couple years behind Duramaxes yet.
I'd agree with that.
You got Denny. Denny just keeps hammering on them, and, he's getting them to run good, and he's going to, in time, if he doesn't give up, he'll be right up there with us, right? The V8s are coming, so whether it's a Ford or Duramax, they're figuring out the Fords, it just takes a lot of work and patience, and
Well, we're fresh off the win. We're fresh off this high of being first, of being the most not only the most well-rounded, powerful truck in the country, but the most well-rounded and powerful Duramax in the country. I think pretty well undisputed at this point. What does next year look like? Are we planning to come back and do at least a three-peat for UCC? So you need 3 first places before you can retire. Is that the contract we have, or?
So a lot of I'm very indecisive all the time, right? But so all along, I'm like, this is the last year. This is last year. This is it. Well, after us winning UCC, and that we totally sucked in all 3 competitions, my goal is to take first place in all 3 competitions.
Fuck yeah.
So I'm hyped up that we know we can do it if we just get all our shit together, right? And be better prepared. That is right now, I'm talking shit right now. That's the goal, right? So
that's it, man. I heard somebody else say it really, really well. You only need a little bit of luck 3 days in a row. That's it. Like, you have the skill, you have the experience, you have the team, you have all the resources, you have everything you need. The only piece that's a question is, like, can you get just a cunt hair's worth of luck 3 days in a row? And that's what puts you into 3 first places and just crushing, just sweeping the event. I love it.
Right. I after seeing and learning, the dyno this year was a big eye opener with us only such a small window with it breaking up, not running right, the crankshaft cracked, and not even hitting all the nitrous, and still hitting 2,400 horsepower. What do you think we can do with a full run with all the juice not missing?
Well, Tony, I want to ask you something, right? So you guys took second last year, you took first this year. Last year, you took first in drag, 8th on dyno, first in sled pull. This year, second in drag strip, 4th on the dyno, second at the sled pull.
Third in dyno. Third in dyno. Yep.
What was
3-3?
What was more successful? Your first, 8th, and first, or your second, third, and second?
I felt better this year with winning the event with a second, third, and third. It was a little tough. It was a little hard being like 8th on the dyno, right? And then us actually still being in the winner's circle on the dyno, not in the top spot, but being up there, that gave me a lot of faith and hope, right? Even though our numbers, competition changed though, right? I mean, last year we actually made more horsepower, but we were further down in the results.
Right.
But who's got the best luck, and who's got the team pushing them, and who's got their women in their back pocket, giving them hope and pushing them. So we had a lot of.
Yeah, I will say for somebody who is proving consistently that they can show up and win, whether it's individual events or the whole shebang, you guys are definitely our favorite to talk to about it. So humble, so gracious about the win, excited about the future.
We can only talk about somebody Cummins, right?
Yeah,
we can only talk about somebody
It's
Cummins.
just another Cummins, bro. Yeah, I've said that before. Okay. At any rate, guys, I do want to say thank you so much for carving out so much time for our listeners. If they want to follow along and learn more about you, Tyler, and what you're up to with the truck and what you're doing, how can people learn more about you and the truck?
Facebook and Instagram, and
probably Facebook, or meet me at the track.
There you go. To race you, right? You're calling people out.
Catch me at the track. I love it. Love it. Tony, if people want to learn more about Dirty Hooker Diesel and what you're up to, where should they go?
So they can go. Our website has our products, and we try to get some information on there. what's happening in that on dirtyhookerdiesel.com. The Facebook is DHD, Dirty Hooker Diesel, or they can actually find my personal page, Tony Burkhard, and then they'll be able to do some following there. We got Instagram and TikTok that we try to keep things posted up on, some videos on there. Of course, they can always call me or call the shop, and we can, like Tyler says, there's some schedules. Usually ODSS schedules are posted on their website.
If you're at an event and you see the Dirty Hooker Diesel booth, go get some stickers.
Oh, yeah, they're
the
great
best
stickers
in the business.
Great
Did
stickers.
this year, I tell the owner, like my boss's 10-year-old son, hey, run over to the DHD booth and get me the raunchiest sticker you could find. And he came back with the biggest smile you've ever seen on a 10-year-old boy's face. Yeah, that fucking happened, and it was awesome. But seriously, guys, thank you so much. Congratulations from the bottom of our hearts. We can say we're really, really excited for you guys, and I think you guys have earned it. Now we just need to get some of the classics get going again, and we'll get some ass kicking here for the rest of the year with you guys.
So a little close for you. So we put up a picture of the crankshaft being the crack in the crankshaft.
Yeah.
And in less than 36 hours, we have well over 2 million impressions.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot of people making comments. And you know how that goes. You 2 million impressions, you got people that don't even know what a diesel is, right? And they're making comments. And my catchphrase of the day is run your truck, not your fucking mouth.
I couldn't say it any better. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Paul Wilson
And Chris Emke
with the Diesel Performance Podcast. Thanks for joining us today, guys. This has been Paul Wilson
and Chris Emke.
Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
He has to take a little bit of faith in me because I do buckle his harness when he's in there. So,
first thought to my head is the old man's going to be pissed about this one.